Welcome in, everybody, to what is going to be the first of, I'm sure, quite a few videos here. It is our favorite time of the year. Stanley Cup playoffs just started today.
Indeed.
I believe two games are going on right now. The Penguins versus the Islanders, and then the Blue Jackets versus the Lightning. I know the Lightning are kind of kicking the crap out of the Blue Jackets right now.
Yeah.
You guys were watching that game. What's the score?
It was 3-1. You said it was last time we checked. Well, we were watching the Islanders Penguins game, so that was 2-1 last time.
And then Patrick Laine just scored. The Winnipeg game just started against the Blues.
Okay.
So that's 1-0.
Either way, we're in the second period of the first two games of the 2019 NHL playoffs.
Yep.
I'm Jake Centerholes to my left. First time ever making a video together, even though we've been roommates for 3 years. It's Matt Hoyt, everybody. Matt, how you doing?
Doing pretty well. Pretty excited.
What are you drinking there?
Oh, it's called a Zombie Dust from Three Floyds. It's like a IPA, super heavy one.
Super heavy IPA.
Yeah, so
that sounds
I got it for
good.
free, so I figured I might as well drink it.
That's the only way I would drink a super heavy IPA, I think, is for free. Next to him, my buddy, you all know him, you love him. Soon to be the most famous black man in America,
Yes,
Malik
sir.
Jackson.
Yes, I like that. It's definitely going to come to fruition, definitely. And like Jake said, this time of the year right here is definitely the best. NBA playoffs are going to start next week too, so it's a beautiful time of the year, man. I'm ready to talk about it.
And your beer, not quite as good as what Matt is drinking. I stuck him with a Rolling Rock.
It is a Rolling Rock, guys, but nonetheless, it's a good beer in my opinion. So it's pretty good.
All right, it does definitely. It does. That it does. That's
for sure.
So pretty much the whole point of these videos is we're gonna do about 15, 20 minutes or however long we're feeling. We're gonna set up the first round of the playoffs here in this first video. Maybe make first round predictions, and then we'll probably talk to you guys again after game 3 or 4. Check in with those predictions and set you up for even possibly round 2 if anybody gets swept in this first round. So I guess easiest way to do it is just go right on down the line. You guys got brackets, right?
Yeah, I got a bracket. I filled it out in like 5 minutes. It's the bracket I kind of want to see, but I'll comment on it a little bit later. But
your bias is kind of showing.
I have a little. I'm a little biased towards the San Jose Sharks, but I got an objective opinion, so
all right,
I think we'll be good.
And Malik, we had an opportunity to talk briefly on Sports Beat tonight, but definitely did not get as in-depth as nearly as we wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess let's start going on down the line. I guess let's start with one of the games that have already started. The Lightning were the best team in the league all year. They managed to end the season with 128 points in the count. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
No, it's unreal. Matt, do you happen to know the all-time record for points in a season?
No, I don't.
I don't either, but I know it's in the 130s, in the upper 130s.
They're probably pretty close.
Yeah, but so this Lightning team been extremely impressive all season. They have arguably the best player in the NHL. They've had some of the best goaltending in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this team is pretty much primed for. We've been saying it for a few years, like this is the Lightning's year. But I believe more so than ever, and they showed it all regular season. And now handling the Blue Jackets. And little fun fact: the Blue Jackets are the only team in NHL history to never win a playoff series.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
So thoughts on this series, breaking it down? Is there any chance the Blue Jackets win this series?
I mean, it's definitely going to be tough. The Columbus Blue Jackets, coming off of a 2-0 lead last April, going up against the Washington Capitals. They failed to win any other games after that. The Capitals won 4 games in a row. So, it's an upside that we're seeing from this Columbus Blue Jackets team. It just sucks because they had a good regular season in the beginning of the year, and then you saw them kind of fall off and start to lose games. Like the Buffalo Sabres they were the first seed in the Eastern Conference for a little bit.
For a little bit.
Yeah. And then the like you said, the Lightning went on this streak with Nikita Kucherov playing like the MVP caliber player that he is. And I mean, no. I don't see them breaking that curse and getting out of the first round this season. And as you said today, the score is 3-1 right now.
It's 3-1, 30 seconds into the third period right now.
I just don't see the Blue Jackets having a chance up against this dominant and stacked Lightning team.
Yeah, I agree. I had them losing. I had the Blue Jackets losing in 5. So I think maybe they'll steal a game. Maybe they'll get a little bit of home field advantage or something for one of the games. But I think like Panarin, and two with the whole Panarin Bobrovsky situation, how they've been kind of talking about like trading them off and like their contracts are like coming to an end. There's just been kind of all this side stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like they're not as focused as like the Lightning probably are. The Lightning have been in it for however long. They haven't had to deal with like this drama and stuff, and they've just been rolling, and they've literally just been playing like a mature team ready for the playoffs. So I don't think that Columbus really has what it takes to even get 2 games out of this one, in my opinion. So yeah.
I agree with everything that you guys said. Columbus obviously comes into this as the lowest seed in their conference.
Mm-hmm.
They ended with a record of 47-31, 98 points on the season. So, I mean, obviously good enough to make the playoffs, but not good enough to beat one of the best teams we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
And one of the best teams that we saw in a long time tied the Edmonton Oilers with Wayne Gretzky with 61 wins. So, I mean, it's pretty hard to come out and beat a team like that. I did also say, I mean, I'm going out on a limb here. I did say in the second round, when we get to it, we will talk about the Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs series. I think that the Maple Leafs win that series, and I think that they're going to make it tough for the Lightning going through. I love John Tavares. I love Austin Matthews, William Nylander. They have a little young squad over there, but adding John Tavares, having a captain that was with the New York Islanders, he's won games, and they had a drought over there in the Long Island for a long time until Tavares ultimately beat the Florida Panthers and took them to the second round. So we should see. I think that'll be interesting to watch.
Well, if you want to talk Maple Leafs, I think we're all in agreement that the first round here is going to go to the Lightning. So we move on from that series. Yeah. Let's talk Maple Leafs Bruins. Another thrilling matchup that we've seen in the playoffs a lot of times. Boston is one of those teams where, man, if they make the playoffs, you don't want to see them. They got a lot of talent. They got a lot of history.
That's true.
But I know the Maple Leafs, like you just explained, Malik, in a lot of people's books, they're a team that could go very far, especially with the addition of Tavares. What do you think, man?
I think I had this series going to 7 games, and I have Boston actually winning this.
Okay, I don't mind that.
So that might be an unpopular opinion, but I think that they've been there and they've done that, and I mean, it almost seems like Toronto, it's too good to be true for them. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. Mm-hmm. Adding JT's big and everything, they have a lot of firepower, but I don't think that they really amounted to as much as they expected this year. And I think the Boston Bruins have, like I said, been there and done that, and they have either Marchand, Pasta, Bergeron, that line. I think they have so much experience in the playoffs that I think it'll catch on for everybody else in the locker room, and I think that's going to make a big difference for them.
Experienced goaltender as well, who maybe hasn't had his best season, but I mean, experience is key, especially when it comes to a position like that. So.
Exactly, and then like you said, we're having Brad Marchand, and he is amazing and such a gritty player, kind of like Tom Wilson of the Washington Capitals. He'll go out there and throw with anybody, and he'll set that tempo for the team. So that's definitely big.
Except he doesn't get suspended quite as much as Tom Wilson. But
that's true.
That's true. He just licks people. He doesn't.
He just licks people. Yeah.
He does a cheap shot.
Well, that's because he's only this big. You got to do something to be aggressive. So
he makes it work, I guess.
Yeah.
So picking this series, Matt said Boston in 7. Malik,
I picked Toronto in 6.
Toronto in 6. I also think that it's going to be a 7-game series, but I'm going with Toronto. I think they had a pretty good season overall, and they had momentum in the playoffs. Last year, they played well as a team. They got a lot of young talent, and then, of course, we keep saying it, but Tavares, I mean, he's one of the best players in the league when you get down to it. So you add a guy like that, it's like they could be unstoppable. I think it's going to be a great series, though.
For
Yeah,
sure.
I think it's one of those that's gonna go to 7, and like
Yeah.
whatever team takes it home, you're like, okay, that
They
that
deserved
makes
it.
it. Yeah, they deserved it. So
It's one of those series that a lot of times
go either way.
we see it in the NHL because of the way that the playoffs are set up. It's not necessarily based off of overall record, it's based off of points. So a lot of times you'll get a first round matchup that could easily be a championship round matchup, or at least the quality of play is a championship round matchup. I think this series has the potential to be one of those.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
So sticking with Tavares, let's jump back to his old team, which I got to be honest, I didn't think the Islanders were going to be anything this year. I think you lose, you bring in Lou Lamoriello, you lose a Johnny T.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that they were going to be one of the lower half teams in the entire NHL this year. Well, I guess I was wrong because they're tied 2-2 with the Penguins in the first round of the playoffs with 6:19 to go in the second period.
Boy.
Ooh, who scored the second goal for the Penguins?
I will look into that, and as I am doing that, Penguins, Islanders, what do you boys think about this one?
Go ahead, Millie.
Okay, I'll start.
Let you know on that one.
This is a tough one for me. I have two different brackets. For the bracket challenge, the one for 100,000 on NHL.com, I picked the Penguins to win in 7 games.
Okay.
I think that the Islanders are going to make it tough. The Penguins, they just didn't. They don't look like they have the same mojo as they have had in the previous years. I don't know what's going on.
I agree, man.
I definitely don't see that the pep in the step. I don't know if it's the team just isn't in cohesion like they used to be. I don't know what it is, but I mean you just can't ever go against the great Sidney Crosby. So I picked them in 7 games. I think it will be a great series though. But as you attested to, losing John Tavares, I definitely didn't think that the Islanders would be good. But adding a Stanley Cup winning coach in the Barry Trotz, that is the reason why they're doing so good.
And like I mentioned, Lou Lamoriello, he's a legend in the NHL. I mean, he's been at the helm of Stanley Cup winning teams in New Jersey and other places. Where else has he been? He came from
New Jersey primarily.
Yeah, I mean, New Jersey was the bulk of it, but he went and had success somewhere else before he came over to New York. But I mean, Lou Lamoriello is a guy that guy's 80-something years old, I think, and he's still going. He's still in players meetings. He's still out there scouting. He's one of the faces of the NHL, especially when it comes to GM. So exactly, you bring in a Stanley Cup winning coach and a Hall of Famer, a legend in Lou Lamoriello. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised that this is where the Islanders are. It's just, I thought that they were doomed after they lost to Bears.
Yeah, I think all of New York all of New York Islanders fans thought they were doomed too. They're like, all right, it's a rebuild season here, but I think that was it's impressive that they made it where they are. I'd probably put a lot of that on the coaching for Barry Trotz. I know he's a very defensive coach, so I think that's probably what their approach is going to be going into this series. I would think is to keep the puck out of the net. It's 2-2 already, so I mean they're doing okay at it, but time will tell. But I think I just don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think if you put the offense of the Penguins up against the offense of the Islanders. And both teams, if the Islanders are just playing defense and, they can't score goals, I think they're going to get outscored, honestly, by Phil Kessel, Malkin, Crosby, Gensel.
Yeah, you can go on.
Gensel just scores 80 goals in the playoffs. So
yeah,
he does.
He does.
Yeah,
I think it'll be funny, though, if Tavares leaves, it's this whole big deal. He goes to a young, up-and-coming squad in Toronto, and then if the Islanders make it further this year in the playoffs,
that would be hilarious.
It would be pretty funny.
That would be amazing, man.
Quick correction: Lou Lamoriello is the president of hockey operations in New York now, but he was the GM for the Maple Leafs and the Devils, where he saw a lot of success.
Okay.
Maple Leafs. I thought it was a Canadian team.
Yeah.
So he left the Maple Leafs and is now in New York. Also, to answer your question previously, it was Eberle scored the last goal to tie up the game for the Islanders. So it is now 2-2 with just under 5 minutes remaining in this series, or in this game, excuse me. So let's pick the series. Penguins, Islanders. Who you got?
Like I said on the bracket, I picked them and I picked the Penguins to win in 7. I think that it'll be a tough series. I think that the Islanders will give them all that they can, but like you attested to, Mac, I said Max, excuse me, Mac, as you attested to, they have all-out scoring, and the Penguins can hit you in different directions, and it's ultimately is going to be too much for the Islanders, and they're going to probably lose this series. But I think that they're going to give them a good go for their money.
Yeah, I agree. I got them. I got the same. I got the Pittsburgh winning in 7. It could come down to goaltending too, so that's definitely can factor into the situation also. But yeah, I got the Penguins in 7.
I've got the Penguins in 7 for a few simple reasons. Much of what you guys touched on already. But I think that this has been a great story, a great turnaround season, if you want to call it that, for the Islanders. But I think this is where the great story stops. I mean, you run into a team in the Penguins who have just they've been there before, man. They know what to do. They know how to win.
That's it.
And I just don't see this team getting bounced in the first round. Now, that being said, even though I'm a Penguins fan, I have them losing in the second round, but I don't see them losing the first round by any stretch of the imagination. I had them winning in 6 games. If the Islanders are able to steal game 1, maybe I might push it to 7.
Yeah.
However, we'll see what this one results in, so I'm going to stick with my prediction of Pens in 6.
You know, they've kind of got that like Vegas from last year, like sort of they have nothing to lose sort of thing. So,
Sure.
So you never know. Like honestly, like Vegas came in with no expectations at all. That's exactly where the Islanders are. So yeah, I agree. If they get off to a hot start, I mean,
Could make a run.
Yeah, you never know.
Might not be able to stop them.
Yeah.
Well, and the Penguins too. You can't. It's hard to sustain greatness. Look at one of the best teams in the past 10 years in the Chicago Blackhawks. We've seen 3-4 championships in the last 10 years, and now look where they are now. You can't always be
picks.
exactly. You can't always be this great team, and eventually, even with guys like Gensel, Crosby, Malkin go on down the line, you're still going to struggle once in a while.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, next series. Since we've been jumping around here, let's see what we got. Let's see. Let's go with the. Let's go with the Blues versus the Jets. That's going to be a really interesting series. I think the Jets are one of the sneaky best teams in this entire playoffs. I think that they have a chance to go far. I haven't honestly really watched the Blues a lot all season. I know the Blues have a reputation just because I've been a fan for a long time, and because I guess if you watch hockey, you know that this is true of the Blues. They could be the best team all season. They could have all the momentum in the world. They go into the playoffs. They have a hard time winning games.
Yeah, I know with the Blues this year, they had a really rough start to the beginning of the season. I know like their first half of the season, you know, they had the O'Reilly trade and everything. That was a huge part of the team moving forward. They thought they were going all in this year with O'Reilly and a couple others, but you know it didn't work out in the first half of the season. But they've turned it on definitely in the last half of the season. They turned it around, and I think they have a lot of that to do is with one of their goaltenders, their new goalies. They have a rookie goaltender. I don't know what his name is, but he won like 20 some games and lost like 4 or something. Just went on a crazy tear.
Binnington?
Yeah, Bennington. So they've got a lot of momentum going in. Mm-hmm. Personally, I have the Jets taking this one. But again, I got it going in 7 games. I think the Blues, like I said, coming in on that momentum and you know, with that confidence coming in now that they think they've probably figured things out. I think they'll give the Jets a run for their money.
A hot young goaltender, especially one who's feeling himself, feeling confident, that can work wonders for you. But I also have the Jets. Malik, what do you think?
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, you look at Matt Murray. The first time he came in when Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't playing so well for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The first time they went on a back-to-back streak, I think it was 2016, man, Murray came in and played phenomenally, and then later they won the Stanley Cup. So when you have a great goaltender, I mean that's the backbone of the team. If you have great goaltending, it doesn't matter how great the defense is playing or how many goals you can score. If you're getting scored on, you're not going to win the game. So, I mean, I think that's really, really something to look at. But I also have the Jets winning this series. The whiteout up there in Winnipeg is really, really, really
it's a
really
cool
intense.
atmosphere.
It's really
a cool
intense.
atmosphere.
Yeah, it's so beautiful too. I love the atmosphere watching their games. I would love to go and actually be in that atmosphere one day.
I know the great Barry Melrose, the hockey god of ESPN.
Yeah.
He always talks about how he thinks Winnipeg is the coolest atmosphere, and it's just so loud in there. And the only rival, I think he said in his book, as far as noise, is Nashville typically.
That's what I was going to say.
But I think that Winnipeg is the higher seed. Now, that's the other thing you got to keep in mind. This is the 2-3 seed series, I believe. So could go either way. The Blues, like Matt mentioned, they started off pretty rough this year. They ended up winning 45 games, though. So obviously a good team, and they were only getting better as the season went on.
Yeah. They're riding a hot streak going into the playoffs, and a lot of NHL analysts on NBCSN were saying this as well when they were predicting this entire series. They were saying when you're coming in hot, kind of like with your goaltender and your whole team, you have that mindset, you have that drive when you don't have anything to lose because you didn't even think you were going to make the playoffs before All-Star break. So when you're having this type of momentum going into the playoffs, anything is possible. But with Patrick Laine, you got Blake Wheeler. They have a good team over there, and I just don't see the Jets losing.
I think they have depth. That's a big thing about the Jets that they've always had for the past few years. They've just had 4 solid lines that can score, and that can make a big difference.
I mean, that's true. That is a key. If you have a fourth line who can produce, I mean, we've seen in playoffs there's third, fourth lines get hot, and then they produce more than the couple top lines. Yeah. So I mean, it's not uncommon at all. So the Jets currently lead the first game 1-0 with 11:02 in the second period. So with that being said, let's pick them.
Okay. I got the Jets in 7. Jets in 7.
A lot of a 7-game series coming from Matt Hoyt over here in the first round.
Yeah, that is actually the end of my 7 games.
That is okay. Well, I guess I said that in perfect time.
So we'll get to those, but yeah.
Malik,
I picked the Jets in 6 games. I think that St. Louis is going to come out, especially when they're at home. That atmosphere, they're in St. Louis. They're going to come out and get a win probably at home. Tarasenko is a phenomenal player. I love his shot. One of the best shots in the league. He's definitely going to show up one game and get at least maybe a hat trick, but he's definitely going to have a 2-goal game for sure. I would definitely think that.
I'd like to see that.
Yeah. So, but arguably the Jets will win it in 6.
All right, so a few more games to talk about yet. I've got the Jets in 6 as well. I think that they're going to win the first 2 games, and then, like you said, maybe lose 1, maybe even 2 games in St. Louis. And then I think they're going to finish the job back home.
Yeah.
So it could be, I don't know. Yeah. It could be a 7-game series, but I'm going to stick with 6.
I said 7, but I could see 6 too. I can definitely see that.
All right, so the Islanders-Penguins game just hit the end of the second period. They are still tied 2-2. So a couple more series to talk about here. This one kind of less exciting for me, a little bit lower on the radar. The Dallas Stars making their way back to the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years, I think. Mm-hmm. They're going to be taking on the Nashville Predators. Nashville had a great run last year. What do you guys see this year?
I don't see anything being short of them not winning this series. I think that they'll win in 5 games. I win 5 games in this series. I mean, Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, they always keep this Dallas Stars teams relevant. I mean, they have a great team, and then they also have Klingberg also on the blue line. He's really, really good. Kind of underrated and under radar just because the Dallas Stars aren't really that big. They barely made the playoffs, but I mean, they're a resilient team, and I think that they'll get 1 in Dallas. But this Nashville Predators team is like you said, like we just attested to about the arenas and stuff. Smashville, they get so hyped, like so hyped. So I just don't see them not winning in 5 games. I think that it'll be a good series for them, but it'll just be a simple 5 games, and I think that they'll move on.
Yeah. Yeah, this one I agree with everything you said. Honestly, Smashville with the intensity and I think that Nashville is just an overall like deeper team. I think they have more talent spread out throughout the team. I mean, like you said, Dallas has Jamie Benn, Tyler Seguin, they have Klingberg.
Seguin.
Like those three, those three are they're really good, but they're I honestly couldn't name a whole lot of other players on that team.
Retired Mike Fisher.
Yeah. Yeah. So and Nashville made some pretty big moves near the end of the season to get Granlund, Wayne Simmons. And I think those are big moves and I think that they'll actually help. And I think Wayne Simmons will definitely produce, at least in this first round, getting in front of the net and putting away, power play goals and things like that.
Subban's not still on this team, is he?
He is.
He is.
Yeah, so Subban's on the team too. So in addition to that, so you can still name more people.
Yeah.
Did they pick up? I know they still have Arvidsson. Do they have what's his name? Bukestad? Did they pick up Bukestad from Florida?
I'm not sure.
I forgot what Bukestad went. He might be. If he's on Nashville.
Yeah.
I bet you Google could tell you in about 2
Exactly.
seconds. All right, so the thing for me to watch for in this series is when is Pekka Rinne first going to get pulled? I mean, we've seen it in previous years with Pekka Rinne. He plays fantastic all season long, even in the first round or two of the playoffs, but then he just starts to stumble. He starts to falter. We've seen it every single year, and he just goes into a game, and for some reason, I don't know if something gets in his head or he just I don't think he gets the yips because we've seen it that he'll start again the next night. He'll go out and allow 4, 5, 6 goals in a period or a period and a half. He'll get pulled, and then he'll go out and put out a shutout or a 1-goal performance the next night. So it's just it can be confusing, but it's inevitable that when the when the Predators make the playoffs, Pekka Rinne is going to get pulled at least 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, that's definitely true. In that way, I can see the Stars stealing a game. I had them on my bracket sweeping. I had the Predators sweeping the Stars. But, once you make that point, I think Pekka may, falter for one of these games. And, yeah, I can see the Stars winning. Like you said, at home or something like that. So
it's just amazing. Like Pekka he's in one of my top 3 goalies, favorite goalies. And I think he's one of the best goalies in the NHL.
That's not every year.
Sure. Yeah, every year. At least top 3. Yeah, he's a candidate every year. And for some reason, he comes into the playoffs and he's bound to get pulled. Like he just does. I don't know what it is. And we see it with other goalies too, but not with the consistency of Pekka Rinne. And it's like it's just incredible. I can't explain it, and I'm sure his teammates and his coaches knew why it happens too, but I doubt Pekka even knows.
Yeah, man. It's an interesting thing. So where did you go with this series again, Jake?
So with this series, I have the Predators winning it in 6 games, I believe. I think the Stars, again, because of either maybe that's a Pekka Rinne bad game or Stars just riding some momentum. I mean, they have great players too, so I've got the Preds in 6 for this one.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I have the sweep. I had to pick one sweep for both of the conferences.
We've got our first.
This is the one.
Bring out the Bruins.
This is the one. Out of all of them, I think that this is the most likely for me to be going only 4 games, just because I think it's so lopsided. But again, you make a good point with Pekka maybe dropping one.
Malik, do you think a sweep is possible?
It's a possibility. I still think that Dallas will get out one. I love Jamie Benn. He's very, very talented. He had the most points in the season one year. I believe it was 2015 or 14. So I mean, it's doable. Yeah. And Tyler Seguin is very talented as well. And they've won like 3 games coming into the playoffs. But the Preds are too deep. They have a great supporting cast. And like you said, though, it depends on how Pekka plays. But I'll say Dallas gets 1 game out of the 7-game series, and Preds move on in 5.
So all three of us are picking the Predators. So let's move on to what is probably going to be our most exciting series to talk about right now. We've got the defending runner-up Stanley Cup champions in the Las Vegas Golden Knights versus Matthew's favorite team, the San Jose Sharks. Of course, this is being recorded in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, the hometown of the captain of the Sharks, Joe Pavelski. He went to high school here. And yes, he is royalty around here. That is for sure.
Yeah,
so we've got the Sharks versus the Golden Knights. What do you guys see in this series?
Well, I can start. On
yeah, we'll let you have the floor on this one. Take as long as you want.
So, nah, it's all right. It's So I don't know. I have my bracket set up favoring the Sharks just because I wanted. That's the bracket I kind of wanted to see. However. I still see the Sharks playing a good series. I see this series itself being a really good series because both of these teams are very good, very deep. I'd put the goaltending on the Vegas side. Martin Jones is decent. He's always just middle of the pack, average.
Very serviceable goaltender.
Kind of pack mule, just does the job. But yeah, and then you got Fleury on the other end, who's absolutely unreal. You don't really need to say anything about him. But I have this going, I believe, to 6 games. I have the Sharks taking it, though. And here's why. I'll say it because I think the Sharks they just have so much talent on their team. They have Carlson. They have talent, but on top of that, they have depth. So they have Carlson. They have Evander Kane. They have Joe Thornton. They have Joe Pavelski. They have oh my God, Burns! Like you just go on and on.
Vlasic.
And then you have Vlasic on the blue line too, and then you can just go on. You could just end all of their third line players, even their fourth line players have been hot, even coming in. Mm-hmm. I know they've had kind of a losing streak at the end of the season, but they have like Hurdle, they have like Donskoy, they have Timo Meier, they have these like kind of third line guys that are really heating up, having the greatest season of their careers.
Yep.
And so, the Vegas is a good team too. They have a bunch of depth. They have Stastny. They have essentially the whole team except for James Neal coming back. Mm-hmm. So I think they'll put up a good fight, but I think that the Sharks have just too much firepower, and so I think they'll take this series.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I totally agree with you. I
thought about this.
Yeah, I picked the Sharks to win in 6 as well. Okay. It's funny how sort of our brackets are filling out to be the same in these first couple of rounds of these picks, but I definitely think that you hit it right on the nose. The depth of the San Jose Sharks it's evident, and they also have the experience. And I mean, Vegas Golden Knights had the experience as well going to the Stanley Cup final last year in their inaugural season. But I mean, this year when you look at it, it was a shaky start, especially when when the Sharks got Erik Karlsson. Everybody thought that you all would be like the Tampa Bay Lightning and be like the number 1 seed, but you guys kind of felt it off a little bit in the beginning of the year. But then you started to make your way, and the chemistry of the team started to get a little bit together. So I see a lot in this San Jose Sharks team, and having Erik Karlsson, Evander Kane, you had, like you said, all of those names. You have Brent Burns, arguably the best defenseman in the league. I love his shot, and I got them in 6, and I think that they'll get it done. Erik Karlsson is just a phenomenal defenseman, and you guys have like 5 great defensemen on your team. So
you got to love Burns' beard too, huh?
Yeah, Burns.
Yeah, I think. I said it a couple weeks ago, man. I came home and I was like, you're going to be happy because guess what? I'm on the Shark train, baby, because I don't think, I addressed it already, I don't think that the Penguins are doing it this season, and I don't want to see any other team win a cup more so than I would like to see the Sharks. Arguably the Golden Knights, but of course they're matching up in the first series, and this year we saw the Golden Knights go so far last year. This year I would like it to be the Sharks. They've got a lot of players on that team that deserve a chance at a Stanley Cup championship, man. They really do. Mm-hmm. And they've struggled in past years in the playoffs, but I think this year the West is more wide open than we've seen it in a long time. So I think the Sharks are going to attack the other players,
Nice.
or excuse me, the other teams in the
Cut that
West. Yeah, no, keeping it. So I think that this is their year, man. I've got them in the finals. So I think they're going to take care of business here against the Knights in the first round.
And when you talk about players that deservingly need it, I mean, Joe Thornton is just the one that comes out to me. I mean, he's one of the most greatest players that we've ever seen in this league to have been to a Stanley Cup final and to lose. It was sad when he did lose, but I would love to see him go back and actually get a Stanley Cup before he arguably retires. And not to mention that same season when he went, he had a torn ACL. He played the entire playoffs with a torn ACL. And I'm just like, wow, hockey is definitely the toughest sport, arguably. Nobody can say it. It has so many different sports involved in the sport itself. So shout out to the Sharks.
And you play through injuries like nuts, man. People play through broken legs. They play through
skate to the face. You come back out after stitches.
Big cuts. A hockey puck to the side of the ear. You're gone for 5 minutes because you just go back, stuff some cotton in it, and you're good to go.
Exactly.
So hockey is it's a tough sport. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah. But I got them in 6 games, but I think that it'll be a good series. Vegas is not going to go out like that. They're not going to just be like, okay. But
Marc-Andre Fleury is my favorite goalie in the NHL right now. He's my second favorite goalie of all time, behind the greatest of all time, Martin Brodeur. And I think that because of him, through solid goaltending play, he might even come up with a shutout at some point this series. I think because of him, Vegas wins 2 games, but I've got the Sharks winning it in 6.
Yeah. No, I got the Sharks in 6 too. Like I said, my bracket's favoring the Sharks a little bit. I got them going to the final also, but the final I'd want to see is a little different. Well, I want to see the Sharks in the final, but I don't know if they'll quite make it. They've struggled in the past, so we'll just have to see. I'm gonna be rooting for them, but if they don't make it, I'm sure I'll be able to make sense of that.
For sure.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, we talked about your favorite team, so let's talk about Malik's favorite team, and or you want to talk about the Caps last? It's up to you. Let's talk about the Caps last. Let's talk about them last. Let's get the Avalanche Flames out of the way because I don't think any of us really care about this series too much. Flames are a really good team. I mean, you care for
all the series.
Well, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So, at the Avalanche. Again, they're a team that were bad for a really long time. They've got some young talent up and coming, making the playoffs a couple years in a row now. Don't think they're getting past the Flames though.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they kind of remind me now of the Minnesota Wild, where they've got an average. It's just average. Their team is average. There's really nothing to say about them. I mean. Like the Wild, they'd always get into the playoffs, but they never really did anything with it. They never got anywhere.
That's true.
So that's
even though they give you so much hope, be like, the Wild are great this year. They're gonna win a series.
Right. They play well.
Yeah, they just be poo poo in the playoffs.
But they play well and they sneak into the playoffs, but they don't really make anything out of it. And that's kind of how I see the Avalanche coming through in this series.
Yeah.
Calgary, they're the 1 seed, which is. It kind of blows my mind a little bit,
right?
But I see Calgary being a better team. They've got James Neal and they've got Johnny Gaudreau and they've got good defense and stuff like that. So I think they've just got a better team. There's really not much more I have to say.
Honestly, I think that's what it comes down to. The Flames are a straight up better team. It's the 1 seed versus the 8 seed, so it's we kind of know how this series is going to go down.
For sure. I mean, for me, I actually really like the Calgary Flames. Since Johnny Gaudreau came into the NHL, I've been a big Johnny hockey fan. The Calgary Flames are my second favorite team. So for them, having the past 2 seasons, they weren't doing good at all. Made it to the playoffs in 2014, but then they had 2 seasons where they missed it. So it's really good to see them. I mean, like we all said, the Western Conference this year was shaky. Mm-hmm. You don't really have one way of looking at it because no team really came out to you except for the Flames. They started to really hit the mark, and as you said, they had 108 points this season. That was the second closest.
107, I believe.
It was 107?
Yeah, because I remember the Lightning at 128. So I remember they beat them by 21 because multiples of 7. And I don't know. That's how my brain works.
No, respect. But yeah, that's, I mean, just they were the second to best team in the regular season. But I think that they'll make some noise. I have them winning in 6 games. I didn't go, to 5 or a sweep or anything like that. Nathan McKinnon is a monster. He is so good. And Rettinen is so good as well. They have a lot of good players on that first line that they have. And then they also picked up Philip Grubauer from the Capitals. And he's a good defender. I mean, he's a good goaltender. He was under Braden Holtby for about 2 to 3 years. So he really learned a lot from him. And Mitch Korn, the goalie coach as well, he had him under his ropes as well. So I think that when you think about that, they might have a chance, but Calgary, they've been going so well this whole entire year.
So before we pick this series, I want to throw this at you guys. The last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup was 1993 when the Canadians beat the Los Angeles Kings.
Wow.
So 1993 was the last time that Canada has seen a Stanley Cup. Is this the best chance since 1993 for a Canadian team to bring home a cup?
I don't think so.
I don't think that they'll.
You're not that confident.
I don't think that they'll bring. I don't think that they'll bring home a cup, but they might make it to the cup.
I would be more confident in the Toronto Maple Leafs, to be honest with you. Honestly, I'd be more confident that the Maple Leafs, if they win the first round, if both teams win the first round, I think Toronto has a better chance of winning the cup than Calgary does.
Okay.
And the reason for that, I think, is because Mike Smith. I don't trust Mike Smith. He is still the starting goalie for them.
For Calgary?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Okay. I don't trust him. I don't think he is. Freddie Anderson. He's a solid goalie. He's, and in my opinion, much better than Mike Smith. Mike Smith is really shaky sometimes, and I would not trust the Mike Smith, goaltending for me. So.
And they would.
Personally, I think Toronto would have.
But
I don't think
if what we say with our predictions hold, then the second round would be Calgary against the San Jose Sharks too. So that would be, that's a lot of offense coming at you too.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah. I definitely agree.
And then with the Maple Leafs, if they win against the Bruins, they will probably go up against the Tampa Bay Lightning. And Vasilevsky versus Anderson, that would be a good matchup. Right. Vasilevsky is a Vezina Trophy winner.
That would be a power. Yeah. That would be a power. That would be a power series, and arguably championship series.
Exactly.
But
it is realistic to see that we could see a Calgary versus Toronto finals.
That could happen.
It could happen.
It could. It could, but
it could happen. It could happen. So
that's true. Yeah,
so this year, Mike Smith has a record of 23-16. He's got a 2.73 goals against and an 89.8 save percentage.
That's not. To me, that's not good.
That's not a championship number.
You're not above 900.
Yeah, you need a 92. I need a 92 and like a
1.5, a 1.7, something like that.
1.8.
Again, the playoffs.
1.7.
The playoffs are big, are different too. But honestly, looking at those numbers, I don't feel super confident in my goaltender there.
And that's so true. I mean, you look at Braden Holtby. Philip Grubauer had way more success last year than Braden Holtby. But then Braden Holtby got to the playoffs, and then he hit his stride. So it really goes with the momentum of that goaltender. But those numbers right there, that isn't winning goaltender numbers. So yeah, it's interesting. But I like that point, Matt. Definitely.
I agree with you. Let's quickly pick this one, and then we'll wrap it up with talking about the Hurricanes versus Capitals. We said we were going to go 20 minutes, and we're approaching like 45 here. So, not that I mind at all. For the sake of our viewers, we'll work on trimming it down for next week. But it's the first video. We're setting up the whole playoffs here. So, let's pick this series. Who do you guys got? Avalanche or Flames?
I got the Flames in 6.
Yeah, I also picked them in 6. Flames in 6.
See, this is my lowest number of games. It's the only series that I have going 5 games. I think Calgary's going to take it in 5. I just don't think that, like you said, Matt, they're average. They're extremely average. And I think that Calgary is going to play with a flame lit under their butts.
I'll see him. Right?
So Calgary is going to play with a flame lit under their butts because they're the 1 seed. They know what they're capable of, and they know their potential. So
they have Johnny Hockey. I mean,
they do. Yeah. So I think they're going to take care of the Avalanche.
Johnny Hockey. Man.
All right, so let's wrap this up with Malik. You can take the lead. Capitals, Hurricanes. You got the Hurricanes winning this one, right?
Oh, no. I don't even think it'll be a close thing. They swept them throughout the entire regular season. It wasn't close. The last game that they played in Carolina, it was 2-1, I believe. It was a close game, but it was the last game of the season, basically like the 3 last games. I might be mistaken, but I think Ovi did score maybe his 50th goal against them, but I might be mistaken on that. Don't quote me on that, guys.
Ovechkin with how many 50-goal seasons in his career now?
8 50-goal seasons now. He's only 1 behind Mike Bossy and Wayne Gretzky. And let this be known, he had 32 goals during that lockout year, and he only played 41 games. And then last year, he had 49 goals, and the coach and Barry Trotz didn't play him for 1 game last year, so he could have scored 50 last year. So he could be tied or possibly have 10 seasons with 50 goals or more. So... yeah,
he likely would have done it.
Yeah, he more than likely would have. He's an amazing talent, but this team definitely they're geared to go back to back, and they have their mindset. I mean, every single player interview that you have, they just say, the chip is off of their shoulders now. And last year, going into the Stanley Cup playoffs, nobody really had any views on the Capitals. The same as this year. Really, a lot of people aren't really talking about the Capitals of going really anywhere. I mean. If you looked at the bets in Vegas, the Capitals are plus 1,200 right now. So a lot of people don't have them winning or going back to the Stanley Cup final. A lot of people think that the Lightning will win, which is debatable. It's favorable because they have had a spectacular and historic season. But when you talk about this Capitals team going up against the Hurricanes, Justin Williams is a name. Sebastian Aho. They have young talent over there, and I think that having those after wins, the celebrations with the fans, the togetherness, that's beautiful to see. But it's not going to be enough against this deep, championship-driven Washington Capitals team. And I think that the Canes will get a win in Carolina, but I think that they only will get 1, and I think that the Caps will make it a short series and win it in 5.
Well, and Ovechkin's not the type of guy to be complacent. He's like, I won 1, I'm good. My legacy is sealed. No way. He came back out. He scored 50 goals this season. They got a new coaching staff. They got a lot to prove yet. They want to prove that last year wasn't a fluke or whatever you want to call it. Like, I can do it again. I can do it 3 times. That's the type of mindset that Ovechkin has. And that's why I think that this team is extremely dangerous, along with the fact that you've got just lots of other talent on that team. You got Oshie, Johansson, all these guys. Well, either way, you would know that more than me. There's a lot of players to keep up with. But somebody that is there yet is Tom Wilson. Do you guys think Wilson sees any sort of suspension in this playoffs?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Not even 1 game?
No, not even 1 game. I don't know. I mean, it's always bound to happen.
That's true.
I can't really answer that question super well. I don't think so, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did. But
yeah. I mean, Tom Wilson, he brings out that energy in the Capitals in the lineup. And that's why Todd Reardon put him on the first line and Barry Trotz put him on the first line with Backstrom and then Ovechkin, and then put him on the right wing because he brings that extra energy. Like he goes out, he hits players, he gets the team riled up. And yes, I even said this on Sportsbeat a couple of times. I don't agree with some of the hits that he's had on players because he uses his elbow and goes high. I don't agree with that. That's dirty. But he is a part of the Washington organization, so. It's some bias here.
He's the modern day enforcer because he has skills. He can put the puck in there. He's a good hockey player, but yet he's still a goon, and he will take you out. He'll fight you. He'll blow you up. All these things. So I mean, he's the modern day enforcer.
But one thing that I will say that the Washington Capitals might lack this year is the depth at the 3rd and 4th line. Even though Devontae Smith-Pelly is in with the Hershey Bears down in up in Hershey in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
It's still the depth on those third and fourth lines. We lost Chason, we lost DSP, we lost Tyler Chorney. Tyler Chorney's still there, but I mean it's when you lose the depth on the third and fourth lines. That's why the Red Wings were so good during their dynasty years, because they had third lines, they had fourth lines, their defensemen.
Yeah, you could run them constantly every night.
Lidstrom, you have all of these great players that can go out and get you goals. You have to have that if you're going to go further in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I think that that's something to note. But the Hurricanes have no chance in this series, I believe, to beat the Capitals.
Matt, any quick analysis?
I'm with you there. I really don't have much to say. I mean, everything that you were saying. I just don't think. I think that Carolina's just too young, not deep enough, and the Caps really didn't lose a whole lot from last year. And they're
besides Johansson, apparently.
Yeah, besides Johansson. Yeah, so I think that they'll make a deep run actually. So yeah, I got the Capitals in this one too.
In how many games?
6 games.
I've also got the Caps in 6. Malik?
5.
Okay. In 5. So
yeah.
I think that's going to bring us to the end of our overview of round 1 here. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to make another view after probably, I'm going to say game 4 in case there is a sweep of some sort. So we'll probably make another video after 4 games. I think that there could be a sweep too. There usually is one in the first round.
Mm-hmm. Maybe the Lightning.
Somebody. But Lightning, or who did you have sweeping?
I had Nashville.
You had Nashville sweeping.
Yeah.
So a lot to keep your eye on, and once again, thanks for tuning in tonight. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Senholes on Sport. You can find Malik at Sports by Malik. Matt doesn't have a Twitter, but you can check out his YouTube. He puts up a lot of cool stuff. He reviews albums. He spends a lot of time outdoors. Do you make videos when you do that too?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. So as outdoor camping, hiking adventures. What else can you find on Matt Hoyt's YouTube channel?
That's pretty much it.
That's pretty much it.
Music reviews, outdoor stuff, just whatever I feel like doing.
Just type in Matt Hoyt.
Yep.
Matthew Hoyt. All right. So once again, Senholes on Sports by Malik. Matt Hoyt, we'll talk to you in roughly, a week and a half or so.
Yeah, man.
After game 4. Thanks to everybody.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.